Kingsglaive, Final Fantasy XV is a feat of both artwork and technology, and as a lifelong FF fan and a filmmaker, I have a lot to say about it, so stay tuned. Sometimes you gotta rep insomnia with the black. For King Regis! Alright, so let's get right into it and start with the visuals. This film is astonishing to behold, almost like a dream, where you have to consistently ask your brain if what you're seeing is real or impossible. The combination of absurdly clean scientific motion capture and animation, combined with the expert storytelling itself, leads to some awe-inspiring moments and emotional payoff. In classic Final Fantasy fashion, Kingsglaive treats you to a veritable potpourri of visual styles, ranging from men clad in designer suits wielding swords, to medieval armored androids with flamethrowers for arms. It all feels very at home in the Final Fantasy lexicon, with that classic clash of visual ideas that makes Final Fantasy so unique. I had the opportunity last night to meet director Takeshi Nozue and art director Kenji Niki at the HPGRP Gallery, New York. And I can say both artists, as well as the other Square Enix staff, were extremely generous with their time and knowledge at the intimate event, and it was a pleasure to be able to meet one of the people involved in so many of the memorable visuals that we all grew up with, from Titus's realization that life can be like a fleeting dream, to Cloud and his journey of self-discovery. You see, longtime fans will feel right at home as that classic kinetic style of filmmaking returns that we've seen in all the games. It was particularly cathartic to see old Versus 13 shots recreated faithfully and published in their final form after a decade of waiting, and the increase in quality is stunning. Speaking of Cloud, if you're a fan of similar animated films like Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, or even other studios' work like Beowulf, you will agree with me that Square Enix has pushed the boundaries the furthest by far, and they do it by reaching a perfectly timed cadence of two very opposite purposes. Number one, to make you forget that you're watching an animated film by creating immensely believable and realistic images. And number two, to remind you that you are watching an animated film by creating jaw-dropping action and fantasy elements that could never be achieved without CG. You see, for instance, one character, Crow, she's actually too beautiful to be real. But she is real, but she's actually not, but she is. Well, sort of. That brings me to the pacing of the film, which is very well done. For all the love I have for Advent Children, I think it did suffer slightly from trading personal character interaction for non-stop action in the second half. Kingsglaive does a much better job of this, mixing in characters connecting in personal conversations with vicious climactic combat at a blistering speed. Let's talk sound. The sound design in this film is distinctive and appropriately satisfying. Everything from a behemoth's roar to Diamond Weapon's massive attack are so memorable, not to mention the heightened believability of the CG, from deftly done environmental sounds down to every fabric brushing lightly across a body to the clash of summoned swords. It all fits. And can we just talk about the genius sound design of the Warp Strike? How can one sound be so gratifying? Man, you gotta do this review. Warp Strike! Let's talk about the music. Now, longtime fans will note that most of the music is done by John Graham, where Yoko Shimomura simply composed the main theme for the film. The primary distinction between the film and the game's music is that in Hollywood, compositions serve as a true music bed for the images. Primarily, they are present in the background, only to supplement the emotions on film and increase them accordingly. Sometimes to be almost invisible while letting the performance speak. Final Fantasy games, on the other hand, are known for their musical prowess, with soundtracks that can be listened to all on their own. The likes of Nobuo Uematsu, Masashi Hamauzu, and Yoko Shimomura meticulously crafting magnum opus masterpieces like One Winged Angel, which are anything but invisible. Now, this isn't a bad thing for Kingsglaive. In fact, it builds a deep consistency that drives throughout the film, at the expense of standing out like the bombastic instrumentation and compositional complexity of Final Fantasy XV. But don't dismay, longtime Final Fantasy fans, you'll be in for a musical love letter or two from the director. One scene that used John Graham's music perfectly was the signing ceremony for the treaty in Insomnia. I won't spoil anything, but this scene had one of the best tension and suspense build-ups that I've seen in a long time. A true slow burn thanks to everything coming together perfectly, not to mention the stellar cast. Speaking of, let's talk about the fantastic performances. Sean Bean, Lena Headey, Aaron Paul all did amazing work bringing these roles to life, and it was so interesting in some cases to see 3 different actors working together to create one role, from the motion capture to the facial likeness, and finally the voice. Top that off with a jaw-dropping level of photorealism achieved with expertly done lighting, and even the most extreme facial details being brought to life, and you have this film. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but Luna, Regis, Nyx, these 3 in particular are unpacked in a way I think you're really going to enjoy it, guys, and it does build perfectly into the release of Final Fantasy XV. To say the least, as if I wasn't already interested in 15, I cannot wait to further explore these characters and learn more about them. Let's talk about the cinematography. Nozoe chose a majestic style, full of lavish camera moves and sumptuous viewpoints. Simply not possible without CG, but he also wasn't afraid to get intimate with his characters, mixing it up with the mighty excitement sequences for something softer and more character-focused. Elegant character close-ups, lens with high apertures and shallow depth of field, showcasing the emotional gradation that was achieved in their motion capture. And I think that shows a maturity in direction, to be willing to blur out a meticulously crafted background in favor of exhibiting his characters with impeccable focus. There's also seamless and creative scene transitions using motion as a visual cue, as we saw in Advent Children. Without spoilers, let's talk about the plot. Kingsglaive centers around the struggle between the Niflheim Empire and King Regis's Kingdom of Lucius, told from the perspective of Nyx Ulrich, a member of the titular elite force who always acts on what he feels is right and genuinely cares about his friends, enough to risk his life without hesitation. You see, I enjoyed the complexity of this character and how he received little puzzle pieces from his past to justify the motivation for his actions. Matt Kishimoto and Kaori Takasue of Square Enix have a message for you guys about what to look forward to with this character.
Today is August 19th, 2016. We're in New York in Tribeca at the Art Gallery for Final Fantasy XV and Kingsglaive. We're with Bill. What are you looking forward to the most?
I'd say I'm looking forward to most is really getting a feel for these characters and really kind of uncovering them as people.
So just on that, without any spoilers,
yes, please.
we get to see a lot of kind of different sides of Nyx, and he's just a really, really interesting character.
You'll have mad respect for King Regis, the bond between father, son, friends, loved ones. So look forward to it.
Cannot wait.
The story has some beautiful and varied moments, from Game of Thrones-esque masked threats between bitter enemies, and then calm moments enjoyed between friends having dinner. As the story unfolds and tension rises, things get tumultuous in Insomnia very quickly, and similar to Advent Children, the finale is both thunderous and impressive, full of sword fights, massive monsters, and Easter eggs aplenty for old school Final Fantasy fans. Seriously, I can't wait to watch it again and spot more. There are so many here.
Keep your eyes open the whole time.
Oh.
Tons of Easter eggs.
Oh.
As a filmmaker who can attest to how long it takes to get even 1 minute of great footage, I can't imagine the countless hours of artistic collaboration that went into even 10 seconds of this visual triumph. I mean, seriously, just look at the credits and the hundreds of international individuals who poured their hearts into this film. It's something to be truly proud of. Also, as a fight choreographer and a martial artist, I could really appreciate the composition of the battles and the extraordinary way they're presented, from close-quarter sword and knife fights to gargantuan creatures clashing and destroying the cityscape with their violent attacks. In addition, I was really thankful for the family-friendly nature of this film. When there was violence, it was shown tastefully, and it wasn't gratuitous just for shock value or anything like that. By the way, all I'll say is, if you love cars, watch this movie. So, was this created as a companion film for Final Fantasy 15? Of course. And I'll tell you, it made me want to play this game even more, but that doesn't mean it can't be enjoyed on its own. Anyone who says the plot is too confusing to follow is not giving audiences enough credit. This is the same lazy people who say they can't watch Game of Thrones because there's names and there's things, and I don't do that. I don't do it. But seriously, I recommend this film to anyone who loves fantasy, technology, action sequences, and just films that push the boundaries of cinema in general. Honestly, anyone who likes to experience something truly unique, because that is what this film is, in a way that only Final Fantasy can. This film transported me to a unique and captivating world, filled with fascinating characters, breathtaking artwork, a thought-provoking story, and just like I said about playing Final Fantasy, a delightful place to get lost in for a couple hours. You see, we recognize and see ourselves in Nyx, Regis, and Luna because we felt their struggle in our own lives, fighting for what we believe in and sometimes suffering for doing what's right. But you see, in the end, we can say we are genuine and sincere to our hearts and selflessly worthy of our friends' support. I know, I may have got a little philosophical there, but what can I say? It's just who I am. Thanks for watching. So, are you looking forward to Final Fantasy 15 as much as I am? If so, then why don't you warp strike your way over to that subscribe button and join the philosophers, and we can enjoy this countdown together. You see, because I'm going to be doing a lot more videos like this. In fact, I just did a philosophical video about why Final Fantasy 15 is the last connection I have to my old self. So I think you'd like it. Check it out. That being said, if you have trouble with bullying in school, or if you just want to learn to fight like Nyx, I do weekly episodes on how to fight to defend yourself in a positive way. And if you want to learn to draw your favorite Final Fantasy characters, I also do art tutorials, so check those out. Either way, I'd love to have you as a part of the community. And hey, if you want to see the channel grow, go ahead and watch another episode, or don't be afraid to drop a like. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a chocobo to catch. For Hearth and Home. Man, I want to be a member of the Kingsglaive. Are just those awesome guys that like wear suits? Hey, can we get me a suit over here?
No.
What? Yet, one game, rather, the idea of one game, has always stood out to me because of its dark and more realistic tones, evocative of Shakespearean character examination with betrayal and tragedy, an art style more brooding and modernly stylish with sleek designer suits and willingness to commit fully to black as the predominant color of the piece at large.